Hey, how are we doing out there tonight, Big Orange Nation, on this Sunday evening? Lots of questions. I don't know if there's a lot of answers right now as to where Tennessee goes moving forward. Obviously, last night, season comes to an end. Not the way we wanted it to happen, but it happened regardless. And sometimes maybe you look back on this right now. Yeah, is it the way we wanted it to end? No. But could we look back on this in the next year, couple years, and say this was the best thing that's happened to this program, was realizing maybe you're not in that upper echelon. So what I'm going to do with this video, I'm going to take a look at Tennessee's offense, what the steps are moving forward. Now, if you're here for a hellfire and brimstone, fire them all, I'm probably not going to provide that. I'm not firing anybody tonight, but I'm going to ask a lot of questions on here as well and see where we get to moving forward. But this offensive staff, this offensive game plan, this offense in the last 2 years has regressed. And there's almost a part of me thinks it regressed even more this year than last year. But I don't know, if you look at the numbers, I think the non-conference games really masked what was not a very explosive offense. I mean, we saw those first few games this year, and we're like, man, this is an explosive offense. They're going to do all these things. And it ended up just being really a mirage along the way. And against your better teams, I don't know that Tennessee really put together a full offense. The Vandy offense was pretty good. I would consider that maybe one of the better ones of the season. That's a bowl eligible team. They beat Alabama. They took Texas down to the wire. They took numerous teams down to the wire. It was a good Vandy team this year, but that's not the standard. We've always expected to beat Vanderbilt. If we're lowering ourselves to that standard, that's where we should be, we might as well just freaking dial it in along the way. But that's not it. When you play the Georgias, the Ohio States, the Alabamas, and these teams, what can you do on offense? Tennessee, the first half against Alabama, first half against Florida, they did nothing. They made the plays in the second half, made the plays in overtime against Florida to win that one. What does this staff, what does this offense need moving forward? I'm going to start with Joey Halzle. He's listed as the offensive coordinator, quarterback coach. To me, I think he's getting too much. He's getting too much of the blame on this. Because let me tell you right now, and if we really sit here and think about it, who does this offense really run through? And it's Josh Heupel. It is Josh Heupel's offense. It is running through him. Yet Joey Halzle, somebody made the comparison last night, and I think it's a pretty good one. Is Joey Halzle Josh Heupel's Randy Sanders, going back to 2005 when Sanders resigned when that offense wasn't getting the job done with it. But when Philip Fulmer was pulling the strings when it all boiled down to it. To me, Josh Heupel's pulling the strings on this one as well. And you cannot sit here and tell me that I'm not going to say all of them, but most of these play calls do not go through him along the way. There are patterns to this offense. And numerous people have said it in here, and there's been times I have as well. I can sit here and most of the time forecast what's coming into plays. Tennessee gets in a second and long, they're running the football almost every time. And now they've gotten on this kick. They're getting cute on these third and longs, thinking they're going to hand it off, run an option like last night, even though one of the subscribers on here did bring up a good point that if the right tackle does his job on that play, there's yardage to be had. But this offense has really got to examine. To me, there's no creativity. Nothing's happening. There's no movement or anything. We see this trickiness and stuff against Chattanooga's, Kent State's, some of these teams. Where's it at in these big games? This coaching staff is, especially offensively, they're coaching not to lose. They're not coaching to win games anymore. The first 2 years they coached to win games. Took a little while out of the gate, Heupel's first year, but once it seemed like that Missouri game happened in 2021, for the next cycle all the way up until the end of 2022, it was a balls to the wall offense. Now It's a bland offense. It's not fun to watch anyway. It was fun against those non-conference teams, sure. Great. Phenomenal. Where's it at when it matters, though? That's what I want to see. That's what this staff needs to determine. What do we need to do? They've got to be more creative. Does Heupel need a guy who will challenge him like an Alex Golish? I don't think we can underestimate enough the departure of Alex Golish 2 years ago. He had to have had something. I know Hendon Hooker was that good. Hendon Hooker was that good at Tennessee. But Alex Golish was a pretty brilliant guy as well. He's making progress with that South Florida program. I may have said Central Florida earlier. I'm wrong on that. South Florida is where Alex Golish went on it. But Halsley, I mean, he's got to get some credit for these quarterbacks. He's been the quarterback coach the whole time, so he has to get some credit along the way. I don't necessarily think Halsley's doing a bad job, but, you know, if he is the play caller, though, yeah, something needs to change in that regard. I question, though, how much of it is Josh Heupel, how much of it is Joey Halsley along the way. Regardless of who it is, I don't see Heupel making a change. If you can get a brilliant mind who can come in, add something to this offense, you do it. I don't know if they do it or not, though. Do they need a better personnel? Possibly, but I'm going to get to one unit that needs a real change, in my opinion, on it. But right now, we're going to, if you're Heupel and Halsley, that's who I'm putting. I'm putting them co-offensive coordinator. That's basically where it's at on it. You've got to get creative with your offense. What we're seeing is not doing it. And they're not doing a damn thing to help out their quarterbacks. They're route running. These route trees, they suck. Use the middle of the field. Use the flats. Use your running backs. Veers out of the backfield. Where's all this at? We've put a big emphasis on the tight end. Alec Ablin has rebuilt the tight end room. Use them more. One catch last night from the tight ends, and you got talent there. Holden Stays was considered a very good pickup. Miles Kitzelman's been the steal of it, and there's a good chance he'll be back next year, which could lead somebody to the portal, and if so, so be it. But Ethan Davis, there's talent there. You're bringing in Deshaun Bring. You're bringing in Van Dorsalier from Texas. All right. That tight end room's going to have a lot of talent in it. Utilize it. Utilize this 12 personnel they talk about. We don't see it enough, I don't think, if you're putting that much emphasis on the tight end. Whether Ablin doing his job, have no problem with him. Darrell Sims, how can you argue with what Dylan Sampson did this year? Peyton Lewis, I thought, had some nice moments last night. Deshaun Bishop has done some good things. As of right now, if Tennessee does not go to the portal, that's your top two running backs going into the next season. They brought in DeJuan Morris, who was Scout Team Player of the Week this past week. They talked about he's very good with the ball in his hands. And I think Justin Baker is an underrated pickup. He reminds me somewhat of Dylan Sampson. Dylan Sampson was not a 4 or 5 star coming in. He was a 3-star guy out of Louisiana. I think he got upgraded late to a 4-star in some publications. Justin Baker's got that speed with it. I think he can add something along the way. It'd be interesting to see with him. I'm good with those 2 units. Offensive line. That's a tricky one. That's a tricky one, the offensive line. I'm not totally on the fire LRB train like a lot of people are. I actually think this offensive line stands a chance to be better and be more talented next year. You look at last night, John Campbell, Javante Spraggins, Cooper Mays, Andre Karich, Lance Hurd. If Karich gets another, I think he's petitioning for another year eligibility based on everything I've read. If he gets that, you're getting back Hurd. You've got Karich coming back. You're probably going to have, unless they go to the portal, Satterwhite is your center, who will be a redshirt freshman. He was pretty highly recruited. If I'm not mistaken, Ohio State wanted him. If you're going against Ohio State for recruits, it's a talented guy. Urban Meyer, I read an article, was around 2012, 2013, sometime in that time frame, that they had a good season. But he told his coaches, he said, if Alabama's not going after him, we don't want him at this point. But I think you have to trust your evaluations also. But, you know, the fact that Satterwhite was one. I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong on that Ohio State wanted Tennessee got last year. He's got talent. He'll be a redshirt freshman. They've got Wendell Moe coming in from Arizona. I've seen something saying Sham Umaroff got $250,000 to stay. I don't think it's a valid source on that one, but still, yet Sham Umaroff was a 4-star coming in, according to the publication. You got David Sanders Jr. He's a starter from day one, but you've also got guys like Bennett Warren, who was pretty highly touted coming in. Can Glenn Ellerbe develop these guys? That's the question to me. I don't have a problem with going to the portal to meet your needs. That's what it's there for. And we can sit here and criticize high school development all we want, but if a unit's not doing it, you go to the portal and get that. To me, though, you look at these guys who are leaving, and I think they had ceilings. Cooper Mays, to me, is going to be really hard to replace. He's going to be really, really hard to replace. The rest of them, I mean, these guys, the effort was not an issue or anything, but I think you can upgrade. And I don't say that to disparage these guys by any means. But to me, I think the ceiling for the guys next year is higher than what was this year. Cooper Mays aside. Cooper Mays is going to be hard to replace. It's going to be hard to find a better center than him. But if we can develop, that's where Glenn Ellerbe, he's got to develop this unit. I don't know if it's technique. I don't know if it's speed. Your strength coach, Kurt Schmidt, his contract is up. Does Josh Heupel renew him a long way? He's been with him. I don't see why he wouldn't. I think you have to be careful with that because you go back to right before 2015, Butch Jones. I use these comparisons a lot because I see parallels between them. He let Dave Lawson go. I don't think that program ever recovered from it. You got to be really careful with that one. And then the last one it brings me to, Kelsey Pope. Kelsey Pope, what was it, last year? Georgia wanted him. Georgia is not going to want a bum for a coach, all right? But something the last 2 years, these units have not gotten the job done. I don't know if it's a talent thing. I don't know if it's a coaching thing. I don't know if it's a combination of both or what's happening. Tennessee's already lost 4 to the portal. I've seen message boards up in arms. Squirrel White posted something on his Instagram, apparently with just the raised eyes. Does he hit the portal? He's not irreplaceable. And Squirrel White's done a lot of good things for Tennessee. Make no mistake about it. But if he does decide to hit the portal, he's not irreplaceable. And I don't mean that I don't mean that, again, to put him down or anything. He played hurt all year. And I think we got to take that into account. Can he be better? Yes. If he's fully healthy along the way, yes. But at the same time, based on what we saw this year, I don't see a guy who's irreplaceable. But could that unit use a refresh, kind of like the secondary got last year? And I'm not talking defense today. I'm going to break it up into offense, defense, because there's a lot to talk about on the defense because there's a lot of expiring contracts of coaches. But this unit, as of right now, you've got Brazel, Matthews, Staley, Squirrel White coming back next year. You got Travis Smith, who I'm very high on. You've got Jackson coming in. You've got 2 more freshmen. I cannot ever remember these names without looking them up along the way. But you've got 3 freshmen who are, according to the publication, can be a 4-star. Let me just pull it up. I'm looking at. You got Travis Smith Jr. He's the one I'm high on. I think you've got to, with him being from last I'd seen an early enrollee, you got to have him ready to go next year. Radarius Jackson's the other. He's a consensus 4-star. And then the 3rd wide receiver coming in this signing class with Joakim Dotson out of Memphis. He's a 4-star according to On3. He's a 3-star to others. So you've got to get these guys up to speed. You got to get them in there. And does Tennessee go to the portal for a wide receiver? I think if you're going to, just pay the money and go get a top dog. Don't get a guy based on talent. Go get one of the main guys and pay the money for them. That's what you're going to have to do. You've got to have these playmakers who can get open to do their things. That was a sobering thing last night about Ohio State. Their top 3 wide receivers, their 3rd best was Carnell Tate, who we wanted badly, he would easily be Tennessee's best wide receiver right now. We've got to have more from that unit to help these quarterbacks. They didn't help Joe Milton last year. They didn't do a lot to help Nico this year. They had their moments, don't get me wrong. I'm not just saying they were awful, but we've got to have more. And I don't think getting rid of Kelsey Pope's the answer. I think asking questions about all these coaches, because you can downgrade. All right. We've seen it. I mean, offensively, people when Mike DeBoer had gone, he left to go to Indiana under Butch Jones. Butch promotes Larry Scott. Butch Jones was gone not long after that. That offense was horrific. But Josh Heupel is going to have to fix this. Do they go back tempo? You've got to have some motion, some creativity, or something along the way to make this a better offense. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens going forward. I don't necessarily expect staff changes. I don't know that they need them, but they've got to take a long, hard look into what they're doing, how they can help their quarterbacks be better. We need to adjust our route trees, our schemes, put in some quick stuff, some flats, some screens, stuff like it. Not wide receiver screen, not sideline screens. I hate that freaking play, but some stuff to help out. Look at what some of these teams are doing to you and take some stuff from that. That's what Heupel and this staff, they're going to have to do. Tomorrow we'll record something talking about the defense. I hope you enjoyed this. Leave me some comments. Let me know your thoughts on this along the ways. It's pretty obvious this year this offense has to be better. They've got to take some steps moving forward to get back, not necessarily to 2022 levels, but closer to them along the way. Frank, House of Orange, I'll see you tomorrow. Last but most certainly not least, go Vols.